Hello friends, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are finally picking my 26 for 2026 TBR and I am so excited. I am participating in quite a few year-long challenges and readathons this year, so I'm hoping for my final list to cover quite a few of the prompts from those challenges. I will be picking every book from my physical TBR because I'm hoping to get it down quite a bit, and I'm also trying to limit the number of books I buy because I have so many on my shelf already that I need to get to. So without further ado, let's start looking at things. I think it's probably going to be a lengthy one because again, I have quite a few options to go through, but I think it's going to be interesting. So let's maybe try challenge by challenge. The first one that is still ongoing is the Reddit Fantasy Bingo for 2025. This one runs from April to the end of March. So I still have 4 months to complete the challenge, but I've been doing really well actually, and I'm quite pleased with myself. I still have 4 prompts for a full-length book to complete, and then I still have 3 short stories as well to read. So let's see what I can pick from my shelf that could be working for those remaining prompts. Okay, we're not off to a great start because I can't seem to find anything. I definitely don't have anything on my shelves. And I'm also struggling to find an option on my audiobook app, which would be the next best thing. So I think I will go browse at my library and see if they have something. The next prompt is a book club or read-along book. So that's specifically from the Reddit Fantasy server. So there were a couple of books for that. I do have The Spear Cuts Through Water by Simon Jimenez, and I also have The Cartographers by Pang Shepherd. So one of those two could be a good option. The next one is epistolary, and the only thing that would roughly match this prompt is House of Leaves. It's quite a thick and intimidating one. The way it's epistolary, it's kind of bending the term a little bit, but my understanding is that it's about a character who finds a thesis about a house that should not exist. I think the dimensions of the house are bigger on the inside than the outside, something like that. And it's very experimental in terms of the form, and so this character is apparently writing their notes in the margins of that manuscript. So I think I might put that on the list, at least as an option, because I also know that there is an intimidating book prompt on at least one other challenge. And next we have elves and dwarves, and for this one I'm planning to read The Hobbit. I do have a physical copy, and I also have the audiobook on my app narrated by Andy Serkis, which sounds like a treat, so I might do some immersive reading with this one. Now moving on to the Buzzword challenge with the title prompts. So let's see my list of books. The first prompt is before or after in the title. Let's see. Okay, so I don't have anything with before, and I don't have anything with after. Okay, so for this prompt I will have to find an audiobook or something. The next one is keyboard keys. So what we have? Space, don't have anything. Enter, nope. Shift, nope. Okay. Okay, let me look physically at the list if I find something. I'm sorry for the background noise, but I think it's going to be going on for a while, and I've been waiting for so long to do this video that I don't want to wait for my husband to be done. So we'll just power through and hopefully you can hear me okay enough. So for keyboard keys, I have found some options, mainly punctuation and things like that. So this Refuse to Choose by Barbara Sher, because it has the exclamation point. It's a book about using all your interests, passions and hobbies to create the life and career of your dreams. So very much for the multi-potential kind of person that clearly I am. Next is Motherhood, and it has the parenthesis on the choices of being a woman by Pragya Agarwal. Then we have a French book also about kind of reproductive rights for women and the pressure to procreate and have children, which has the exclamation point. And then the last one is Mistakes Were Made but Not by Me. Why did I pick this one? Because it has the parenthesis as well. So all those books are non-fiction. This one has been by far the longest on my TBR, so I might go for this one. I'm quite thrilled to have some non-fiction options as well, so we will see. I will decide also depending on other prompts, but I think this one would be my priority pick at the moment. Next we have This or That. Hopefully that's not too hard. I have 2 books with this. Didn't I unhold this book? I think I did. Okay. The other one is I Was Born for This by Alice Osman, but that's an audio book, so that's an option. And that, I don't have anything with that, so okay, not something for my physical TBR. For Ordinal Number, the only option I have on my shelves is First Light by Charles Baxter. It's about a brother and sister, where the brother took care of his little sister since they were children. The sister is actually a successful astrophysicist. So that sounds pretty cool. It's been on my TBR since 2016, so it would be good to have that put on the list and read this year. Next prompt is Make. Let's see. I don't have anything. Making. Okay, I don't have any title with make or making, so let me look at my shelves and see if I have something approaching. Okay, I actually found 2 options that could work. They're both French books. The first one is Fabriquer une femme by Marie Dariussec. This is a novel, and the title would mean kind of make a woman, construct a woman. And it's about 2 childhood best friends, and they've grown up and things are like the blurb doesn't give away much, but I liked a book from this author before, so I would be curious to read this. And then the next one is Comment faire mentir les cartes by Marc Montmonnier, and this is a non-fiction about how to make maps lie, and so how maps can influence our perceptions of things. That also sounds very intriguing and very interesting. So those could be the 2 options for this prompt. The next one is one-word title. Okay, I think there are a lot of options for this, so I will probably go through some more prompts and try to see where there might be overlap as well. The next one is occupations, and I already have the cartographers as an option for the fantasy Reddit bingo, so I might pick this one. For groups and clubs, I'm considering 2 options. Both are non-fiction. The first one is Les Grands Oubliés by Titu Lecoq. This is a French non-fiction book about women who got forgotten through history. And the other one is The Art of Gathering by Priya Parker. This is not specifically about a group or club, but gathering is very much forming a group and club, so I think that would be very fitting as well, whereas this one is about a specific group of women who did great things but were not recognized as they should. So those are my 2 options for groups and clubs, and let's move on to the next prompt. Next we have Me and My. For Me and My, I have a few options. I have Mon Autre by Herbjørg Wassme. This is translated from Norwegian by Françoise Seide. And this is a novel about 2 people who got close all of their lives but never had a love story until they're in kind of a later stage in their lives, and after failed marriages and everything, decide to finally get together. This is an author I've read before and I really loved. Then we have all the way at the bottom, The Measures of My Days by Florida Scott Maxwell. And I think this is a nonfiction, kind of compared to Marcus Aurelius' Meditations. It's kind of the thoughts and reflection of this woman in, I think, her 80s, so at the end of her life. Then we have Moi, Poulain des Virènes des Bandits. This is an autobiography by Poulain Devi, who was an Indian woman who had a very, very tough life and ended up joining a group of bandits. And I think she ran in politics as well in India and was elected. So she had a very interesting life, so that could be a good option as well. Then we have Avec mon meilleur souvenir by Françoise Sagan. She's a very famous French author. I read quite a few of her books and really enjoyed them. I think it's a nonfiction kind of memoir or kind of her letters or something. And then this is kind of a memoir as well, but I think there might be pictures. Yeah, that seemed to be a very cool book about the kind of learning process of a geisha in Japan. So I think that would be really fun as well. For the next prompt, Parts of a House, the only thing that I have is The Bloody Chamber by Angela Carter. Or it would be a bit more far-fetched, like something with mirror, or I have a book about television, things like objects that you could find inside a house, but that feels a bit pushing it. So The Bloody Chamber is an option, but I'm not feeling massively excited about this for this year, although that could help me get to my 5 short stories. So that's an option. And then, okay, the last 2 I feel might be tricky. I'm not sure I have anything on my shelf. It's instructional title and superlatives. So let me have a look and see if I have anything. Okay, so for instructional title, I have Refuse to Choose and Lâcher nos utérus, which is basically leave our uterus alone. So those 2 were already among my options for the keyboard keys, so I think that just confirms them in the race. And then for superlatives, I only have 2. This one is a nonfiction. It's Le pire des mondes possible, so The Worst World Possible by Mike Davis, about the explosion of urban slums around the world. So it's very kind of sociology and geographic kind of nonfiction book. And then the Françoise Sagan book I was mentioning before, which is With My Best Memory. So that may be one, but I was more excited about the other books for the my prompt. So we'll see what I do. Maybe I will look for a audiobook for this prompt so that I can pick another of my book. Okay, so that leads us now to the Buzzword book cover challenge. The first one is body part, internal body part, so it can be heart, blood, bones, a skull, things like that. Let's see what we have. Okay, actually this was very quick. Within the first few seconds, I found the book that I want to put on my list. This is The Tusks of Extinction by Ray Naylor. It's more of a novella, it's very short, and it has a kind of mammoth skull on the cover. The prompt doesn't say that it has to be a human body part, so I will go with this. And let me give you a quick summary. So it's a science fiction in which the mammoth have been brought back to life. And so there is this scientist who is an expert in elephant behavior who comes in to help the mammoth know how they're supposed to behave. Again, it's very short. I read The Mountain in the Sea by this author in 2025 and loved it, so I'm very excited for this one. For the second prompt, silhouette, I think I want to go with Goddess of the River by Vaishnavi Patel. This is an Indian mythology retelling about Durga, who is the goddess of the river. I did read Kaikeyi by this author. I did enjoy it. It didn't blow me away, but I'm very curious to give her another shot. And so I think that's the one I'm gonna put on my list. For action/movement, I think I will go back to a book I already set aside, which is First Light, because with this kind of sprinkler, I think you can very much feel the movement of the image in the cover. Because it's already an option for me because of the ordinal number, I think I will go with this one. Next, for accessories that are wearable, I do have a few options. The first one is One Part Woman by Perumal Murugan, and in the cover you can see that the character has some earrings. This is a book about a couple who is struggling to get pregnant. This is by an Indian author. I think it's also in translation. Let me check. Yes, it's translated from the Tamil by Anirudhan Vasudevan. And I think that could be a great option also considering the diversity book bingo. So definitely a contender. Then I have this French essay about feminism in pop culture by Jennifer Badjemi. And in terms of accessories, we have a bunch of necklaces, scarves, we have the hat, the earrings. There is a lot here. Again, with a necklace, we have a Diary of Blood, which I believe is a retelling of Dracula from the point of view of one of his wives. And then I already talked about this kind of memoir about the training of a geisha. There is like lots of accessories in her hair. And I also have this memoir by an American who is at least at the time, was the only non-Japanese to become a geisha. I think it could be interesting to read those in tandem. So those are options as well. So I have a lot to choose from, which is going to be hard. The next prompt is a border or frame on the cover. I already have those two books on my list, so I think we're covered. Wings, I already put The Hobbit on my list, and The Dragon Has Wings. So again, one that we can check. The next prompt is Metallic Element, and this is giving me the opportunity to put this bad boy on my list. This is La Quête des Wilans by Pierre Bottero. I don't even really know what it's about. I just know that it's a YA fantasy series that recently celebrated its 20th anniversary. Apparently it was very famous, even though I never heard about it before I saw it in the library, in the bookshop. But it was kind of the French Harry Potter of the time. And I gifted the audiobook to my nephew for Christmas. I know that my sister also got the physical edition to go along with it. And so he's going to be reading this at some point. I said that I would love to read it along with him, and my sister will also be joining. So we have a little family book club going on with this book. So it has to go on my list. There's no other way. And also, it's a gorgeous edition with a lot of gold, so perfect for that prompt. For damage, which could also go for a metallic element, I'm picking Other People's Husbands by Elizabeth Noble. This is a book I picked up in London a couple of years ago, and I'm still very excited to read it. So finally, now is the time. And this is a story of a group of friends, and some people among that group are having an affair, and so obviously that creates a lot of drama. It works for damage because you can see that the cover has this kind of broken pattern that's been repaired with gold. And there is a technique, like a craft technique in Japan, doing this kind of repairing objects with this golden binding thing, and it's really beautiful. So I like that it's both damaged and gorgeous. For Fire and Smoke, we could still go with First Light because of the sprinkler, but I have a few books that I would be excited to read. The first one is Briefly Very Beautiful by Rose Deneen. It's about kind of a dystopian context where a woman is having to pack her things, and her children because the situation is getting too dire, and unfortunately her husband, who has been deployed abroad, is not coming back, so she has to do something. So it seems to be, again, a dystopia survival story. Sounds very intriguing, and I haven't read a sci-fi for a while, so I would love to read this. Next we have A Language of Dragon by S.F. Williamson, and this is the story of a linguist who studies dragon languages, and there is civil war. It's a high fantasy. I've heard mixed things about it, so I'm a bit unsure, but the edition is gorgeous. It could be great for Draconathon as well, so definitely a contender. And the third one is 10 Incarnations of Rebellion by Vaishnavi Patel, and this is a alternate history novel about what if the British never left India. And I already have a book from this author on my list, but I'm also very intrigued by this one, so another option. For Doors and Keys, I haven't looked very long, but I don't think I have a lot of options, so I think this confirms The Bloody Chamber as one of our picks, because there is this knocker which you would find on the door, so I think that would count. Actually, while I was looking for the next prompt, which is a reflection, I came across The Binding by Bridget Collins, which has a key on it. So that's another option for Doors and Keys. Okay, I haven't found options for the reflection prompt, so it's definitely something I will have to keep an eye out when listening to audiobooks. And then for the final prompt for the Buzzword book cover challenge, I have two options. I have Mary Lou, The Kingdom of Back. It's all about music, and you have little notes on the cover. And then if I stretch it a bit, there is Bird Cottage by Eva Mayer, because birds do sing, and so they make music. Now moving on to the next challenge, which is Chantel's Reads All Day Read Your Bookshelf Challenge. And the first prompt is a title that includes an article. I think this one we're already covered. We have The Counter-Ruffers, Goddess of the River, The Hobbit, The Tusk of Extinction. So this one, we're good. Then for a cover with 3 or more objects, I think The Hobbit does it. There's plenty of swords and weapons and stuff in the dragon's kind of treasure. And then a weapon on the cover, that also does it. The thing is, like, I don't want to double up on those 12 prompt challenges. So if this one has 3 objects, what can I find with a weapon? Let's see. Okay, so yeah, for weapons, I have plenty of other options. We have The Art of Prophecy by Wesley Chu with a long sword. We have The Spear Cuts Through Water by Simone Jimenez with the spears. We have Paul and Davies' autobiography, which I already mentioned, with a rifle. And then we also have The Children of Gods and Fighting Men with an axe and a sword. So there's plenty to choose from, and I think I will decide again a bit later, looking at how the different prompts overlap, what's already on my list, how to balance things out, and all of that. I think the next few prompts should be easy enough. Includes a conjunction. Again, I don't think I will pick a specific book for this one because there will be so many to choose from. Includes a place. We have Goddess of the River, which is already on the list. Among the options that I do have, The Kingdom of Back could work. The Bird Cottage could work. House of Leave could work. So again, I don't think I will lock something down because we have a lot to do with already. For 5 or more words, again, I think there would be a lot to choose from, but I've been looking for a reason to put this on my TBR list. So The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Susan Collins. I read The Hunger Games for the first time in 2025 and loved it. I've watched the movie, which was fine, but I think the book probably does a better job of going into the minds of the characters. So I have a box set for this, but this is the only book in the set that I haven't read. So it's separated from his little brother and sisters on the shelf, and so I really want to read it so that I can reunite them on my red bookcase, and then so that I can also get to Sunrise on the Reaping. The next prompt has a map. We have the cartographers on the list already, and La Quête de Willan also has a map inside. Also, I do read quite a bit of fantasy, so I'm not too worried about this prompt. For the water prompt, again, I'm not too worried. I think I would easily find something to fit it. Then for animal, I think I have quite a few options on my shelves, but the one I really want to put on my list is H is for Hawk by Ellen MacDonald. This is a memoir about grief and falconry, which sounds really cool, and I know there is an adaptation coming out soon as well, so I would love to read it before I watch the movie. For bookish, I could go with the binding because that's an essential part of a book, but I think I might twist this a little bit and pick a book from my writing shelf because it's very much about writing books, so I think it would be relevant, and also I really want to include at least one book from that shelf on my 26 list. Okay, I wasn't sure I was gonna decide on the bookish / writing book just now, but the next prompt is transportation, and I think I have the perfect one. The Wonder Book by Jeff Vandermeer, which is the illustrated guide to creating imaginative fiction. And it does include the word book, so I think it's not even cheating for the bookish prompt. And in terms of transportation, we have a bunch of hot balloons and stuff, and also this whale is kind of transporting the city across the sea, so I think this is perfect. And the last prompt is true or false, and so it can include either of those words in the title, or Chantal said that it could be a title that is a true statement or a title that lies, things like that. So I think this solidifies this nonfiction book about how to make maps lie in my selection. So I think that's the one I will go with, and that was the last prompt for this challenge. So I've already secured 10 books on my list, which leaves 16 slots. No, actually, I've secured 11. There's one on my desk. So I've secured 11 books already for the list, which means we have 15 left and quite a few options pulled out of the shelf. So books that I'm considering but haven't decided on yet. But the next challenge is a big one, and it's Ellen's Diversity Book Bingo Challenge, which has 36 prompts. So for this one, you can double up, and I will definitely double up because I think 36 individual books would be way too much and way too ambitious. For the smaller challenges, where it's just one prompt per month, so 12 prompts for the year, I will try to avoid doubling up. I mean, I can double up between challenges, but for those, I would like to have 12 different books for all their prompts. For Ellen's challenge, we will maximize and try to be efficient. But I think there are already a few books that I can pull out from my shelves just to meet specific prompts. Because one thing that became quite evident to me in starting to look into this is that I do have some good diversity on my shelves, but there are definitely some areas that are neglected. And that's especially in terms of geographical diversity. I do have a lot of North America, Europe, and Asia, and Asia in a broad sense, but I don't have anything from Africa, which really... So I will have to find something in my audiobook app or something at the library, or at some point purchase a book, because I also want to support African authors. So that could be something to look into. And I also have nothing from South America. I already know that I want to read Elena Knows by Claudia Pinheiro, who is an Argentinian author. I have this on my audiobook app, so at least I have that covered. Ideally, I would read more than one book from a South American author in the year, but at least I have that prompt covered once. For Australia, I had two options. The first one is Cold Enough for Snow by Jessica Au. She is an Australian author and the book is set in Japan, so I think it's quite interesting in terms of diversity. The other one is James Islington, The Will of the Many. James Islington is an Australian author, but the book is a fantasy inspired from, I think, the Roman Empire. So I think I will go for Cold Enough for Snow because in the spirit of the challenge, I think it's the one that works the best. And I think in terms of prompt, it would at least work for a generation because this is a story of a daughter and her mother traveling together to Japan and kind of their difficulty to communicate. So that's one. And then for Indigenous, I have one option on my shelves, which is Stolen by Anne Studios. It's been on my shelf since 2022 and it's high time that I read it. I got close to reading it last year for the Indigenous prompt on the channel, on the challenge, and I ended up reading another one. So I think now is the time. So another prompt that I already started looking into is New Country, where you're supposed to read a book from a country you haven't read before. And I struggled a bit with this one last year, so I already started looking into it and what I had on my shelves for this year. And I have a few options. The first one is The Art of Prophecy by Wesley Chu. Wesley Chu is a Taiwanese author. The thing is that he lives in the US though, so again, it's kind of mixed in terms of diversity. Next we have Anne-Sophie Soubilia, Nejantaya. This is a French tiny book about exploring the Arctic, I think. And this is a Swiss author. So I don't think I've read anything from Switzerland before, but it's obviously quite close to me because I'm French. So that's another option. Then we have Black Butterfly by Priscilla Morris, and this is a book about kind of conflict erupting in Sarajevo. The author is British, but she has Bosnian parents, I think, or she's from Bosnian descent. So, and the book is set in Sarajevo, so I think that could be an interesting one as well. And then the final one is Sandor Marai, who is a Hungarian author. This is a French translation of A Dog of Character. It's the story of a little dog who's kind of misbehaving in this high society in Hungary. And I think this would also work for the translation prompt. So the thing is with the diversity book bingo, you have kind of geographical prompts and then you have identity prompts. But also you need to match them with some prompts in the board. So I think the more I have, the better. So I might put those two on my list, actually. I think that sounds quite interesting and exciting. Then obviously for the diversity bingo, there are many more prompts, but I think quite a few will overlap with other challenges. There's even a buzzword prompt in there, so definitely that one we got covered. And then there are prompts that are more general, so like read a nonfiction book, for example, so that's definitely covered as well. So I think I'm more willing to wing this one and then try to match the books that are already in my selection to this challenge and then try to find the ones that might be missing as the year go around. Which means that I still have quite a few options pulled out that I need to decide on the different prompts that I discussed. I do have another challenge that I'm doing actually that might help. Base Reads is doing the Reader's Gauntlet, which is a big bingo with a bunch of different reading challenges. So it's not prompt for specific books, but it's prompt like do a scavenger hunt, read some challenging books and stuff. The whole bingo felt a bit too intimidating for me. So I kind of made a smaller version and I picked the challenges that worked for me. So I picked the scavenger hunt, I picked pretty cover challenge, bingeable books, intimidation triangles. This one is definitely something I want to look into. Spinner wheel, read every day for 30 days, physical TBR. This one is going to be easily covered. Play a TBR game, participate in another readathon. Again, very easily covered. New to you authors. The blurb challenge is probably going to be a bit trickier as well, so I will want to pay attention to that. Then the rainbow challenge, I can have a look at the colors that we have covered. Poll pick, booktuber X, so it's kind of looking at recent-ish 5-star books from other YouTubers that I would want to read, or in general books that I'm inspired to read by other YouTubers. Then 24-hour readathon, and then a personal goal. So I think the things I want to look at are the rainbow challenge, intimidation triangle, and maybe the blurb, although that feels a bit hard to plan. So let's have a look at the books that I've pulled out already for the different prompts, and then books that I'm excited about as well, just like outside of any challenge, like something that I want to read. I've already put a couple, I mean, I'm excited about all those books, but I've already put a few on the list, but I also want to pick books just for the fun of it. And I've recently reorganized my shelves, and I have some very old books on there, old in the sense that they've been on my shelves for many, many years. And so I would like to try to pick maybe at least 2 of each shelf, so that I'm sure that I'm also reading my backlog. So that might be a bit hard, but we'll see. Let's look at what we have left. Okay, so I currently have 16 books already decided, so I have 10 spots left. And so you can see the books that are on their sides are the ones that I've been considering for different prompts. I also have a few books on the floor, and so I'm gonna see again for the different prompts and what excites me most, what do I want to pick out. So this is it, I'm done. I've picked my 26 books to read from my shelves in 2026. I have the shelf in question behind me, and let's go through all the books. I think I've already talked about most of those books in the video, so I will go fairly quickly. And let's start with The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Susan Collins. Wonder Book, The Illustrated Guide to Creating Imaginative Fiction by Jeff Vandermeer. Other People's Husbands by Elizabeth Noble. H is for Hawk by Alan MacDonald. Goddess of the River by Vaishnavi Patel. The Tusks of Extinction by Ray Naylor. The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. The Cartographers by Pang Shepard. I don't think I've talked about this one. It's basically the story of a daughter who has been humiliated by her father, who is a cartographer, and she works in the same field, and somehow something happened between them. And when her father passes, she finds an odd map that holds a secret. Apparently, there is some mysterious character who is destroying every other copy of that map. So it's getting very rare and precious. And again, the main character needs to go on an adventure and figure out what is the secret that this map reveals. Again, on the topic of maps, How to Make Maps Lie by Marc Montmonier. Stolen by Anne-Hélène Lestadius. This is a story about a young Sami girl who witnesses a crime and kind of the ripple effect of having to keep that secret 10 years later. First Light by Charles Baxter. The Kingdom of Bach by Marie Lu. This is a fantasy novel about Mozart's sister, who is also a music prodigy, but obviously she was very much eclipsed by the talent of her brother. Him being a male, that was how things happened at the time. So I'm very curious about this one as well. Cold Enough for Snow by Jessica Au. A Dog of Character, I think would be the English title of this novel by Sandor Marais. Black Butterflies by Priscilla Morris. Briefly Very Beautiful by Rose Deneen. A Whelan's Quest by Pierre Bottero. Again, I really don't know what the story is about. I just know that it's a YA fantasy. The Bloody Chamber by Angela Carter, which is a collection of fairy tale retellings, but with a kind of gothic lens. With my best memory, with warm regards, something like that. This is Françoise Sagan, a French writer's memoir. Pauline Davies' autobiography. The Binding by Bridget Collins. This is the story of a young binding apprentice, and I think in this world you can bind memories and secrets into books, so that's where this character is working. And one day he finds a book whose binding is about him. One Part Woman by Perumal Murugan. Refuse to Choose by Barbara Sher. This is a chunky, intimidating one. House of Leaves by Mark Danielewski. And then the two final books I haven't mentioned, I decided to include them because I want to go back to reading more nonfiction in 2026. And I do read quite a bit of nonfiction, but often it's kind of memoir or biographies, things like that. And I wanted to include some books that are more kind of essays, a bit more hardcore ideas books. So the first one is Everything is Obvious by Duncan J. Watts. This is all a book about how common sense sometimes fails us and gives us the wrong idea about how the world works. And then the final one is Propaganda: How to Manipulate Opinion in Democracy by Edward Bernays. This felt very much apropos for our time, and it's fairly short as well, so I think one I would easily tackle in 2026. There you have it. Those are all the books on my 26 for 2026 list. I hope you had fun going through all the options with me and deliberating and seeing the final list. Let me know in the comments below if you did such a list and what's on it. If you don't feel talkative or if you don't know what to comment, just include the pile of books emoji to show that you were here and that you enjoyed the video. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.